Hey everyone! Today's hair ideas were inspired by two Game of Thrones characters, Talla and Melessa. The first crown braid will be Talla's single twist half up. I started by blow drying my hair upside down until it was about 80% dry. Normally I use a round brush to get it 100% and straight so that I'll have a nice even base before I begin filming. But when I take out all the moisture, my hair doesn't look as full. So today I'm embracing my natural texture and leaving a little water in it, which sometimes helps to keep my braids in place longer too. So once I had all my tangles out, I drew a part down the center of my head, and then with that same comb, I made a headband parting on both sides. I used a styling clip to temporarily hold the section on the left, but when it came to the piece on the right, I took a little more care to wrap that up on itself and tuck it away. That'll be the last piece of hair that I'll be working on. Beginning on the left, I picked up a section of hair, split it into two, and began a French rope twist braid. This is a super simple braid in that all I'm doing is wrapping the strands around each other while adding hair into each one as I go along. It looks a lot like a rope braid, but it isn't quite the same because there's no twisting individual strands first. I find that it's actually easier and will often appear softer too. As always, I'll link my Braidtionary video in the description should you like a longer explanation. These actresses are obviously wearing wigs that have tons and tons of hair. It can be frustrating to try and recreate cosplay looks because of this. I do have extensions, but I wanted to try and solve this style without the extra hair because I know not everyone has the luxury of clip-ins. It's my hope to prove that it is possible to make this look like one seamless braid with your own hair. As you can see, I've added in everything along my ear. I've also leaned the braid backwards. Now that it's reached the top of my head, I'm adding in small sections of hair from my crown. By doing this, I'm anchoring the top half of my rope twist while extending the length of my strands. After all, I need this one twist to go all the way around my head like a halo. From time to time, I stopped to check in the mirror just in case something was out of place. As I came around to the right side, I continued to add little pieces of hair into the braid. Since I'm still ignoring that secured section near my face, those additional strands are coming from directly behind it. I'm also adding sections from below my ear because the actress's hair looks like it sweeps up from her neck, almost in the same way Marjorie Tyrell's hairstyle does. When I felt I had everything in place on the right side of my loop, I brought the braid back over to the left. Obviously I started my halo braid on this side, so there wasn't a lot of room for me to add in extra hair. I did manage to gather some into the braid from below my ear, which helped match up with the other side. All that was left was an elastic on the end of the braid. I curved the whole thing to form the round crown braid look and bobby pinned the ends into place. At this point, it was time to take down that clipped up section on the right. And you can see that it's pretty self-explanatory in that it's just another French rope twist. I made sure to angle it backwards as I had on the other side, and I twisted it all the way to the ends before tying it off. There's no real rhyme or reason in how I pinned this up either, I kinda just went for it. I thought it was best if I used it to fill in any gaps, which is why I doubled it up and over itself. In the end, it worked out really well and concealed all of the partings at the crown of my head. And that was it. It took about 10 minutes to do. The second style was inspired by Lady Charlie's very voluminous half-up. I began this style by setting my hair into an abstract art braid, which I wore for several hours during the first half of my day. I'll link the video covering this particular technique in the underbar in case you'd like to see it. Anyway, I like to use this method when I'm looking to make my hair appear as full and as wild as possible. Again, I didn't want to use hair extensions here because I thought it might be interesting to recreate the look while working solely with my own natural texture. Unfortunately, my waves have a tendency towards frizz, and it can get quite unruly after being pulled out of this braid, so I decided to douse it with a little bit of Aveda's dry oil. With a comb, I sectioned out two small pieces of hair along either side of my face, and I used clips to hold them out of the way. I did the best that I could to make them evenly match up. I also made a horizontal half parting, and it's with this section that I'll be creating the bulk of the style. And just for good measure, I rolled up the rest of my hair and stuck it into a claw clip so that it wouldn't be in my way as I did this. Working from the right side of my head, I sectioned a sliver of hair from along my ear, split it into two, and began a rope twist braid. Each time I brought the bottom strand over the top, I'd add hair in before continuing. The goal here is to get the twist to extend from one side of the head to the other while using all the loose hair in this area. I'd like to be clear that while it's usually my goal to bring you the most screen-accurate recreations I can, this one's details were a bit difficult for me to discern. Not only did the actress have more hair on her head than is humanly possible, it was also a dark brown, which made it hard for me to see smaller details. What I'm doing here is the best interpretation I can, and I'm hoping that all die-hard Game of Thrones fans can forgive me if this isn't quite right. Once that first step was all done, I went in onto the 2 smaller bits of hair at my forehead. These are easy little twists, kind of like the ones we see on Cersei and many other Westerosi women. I didn't feel the need to go the whole length of my hair with this, and instead chose to stop mid-strand on each side before tying them together with a small elastic. The only thing left was to pull that larger rope twist back over to the opposite side of my head so that it could be shaped into a smaller halo crown. You can see how this look is very reminiscent of the first, with only a few minor changes. Personally, I happen to love the idea of mother and daughter matching braids, and I plan on giving this a go with my own little one. With all the pinning done, I looked over the bottom half of my hair and realized that a ton of my volume had begun to fall. I was sort of bummed by this, so last minute I chose to use a clipless curling iron and jazz that bit up again. In the end, I think it turned out pretty well, and I hope you think so too. If you like either of these styles, please hit that like button or let me know in the comments below. Until next time, have fun and keep braiding. Bye!